Alexander, my man, thank you so much for coming on the Entrepreneur Fitness Podcast. How you doing, buddy?
Great, man. Thanks a lot for having me here.
So, Alexander, dude, I'm super pumped to have you on the show today. And listeners, you guys should be super pumped as well because you're going to take a completely different spin on exercise and nutrition and why we should invest the time in doing so. And we're really going to focus on winning every day. And so that's where the conversation is going to go today. But before we launch off into that and we start giving the audience all the goodies, Alexander, you want to give yourself a brief little intro on top of what I've already said? I gave everyone a nice little background on you, but tell everyone what you're up to right now, man.
Yeah, so basically my site is, I run the site modernhealthmonk.com. It's geared towards desk working professionals that want to lose weight and get out of chronic pain, but I really focus on habits, systems, and psychology. So I know a lot of entrepreneurs will really resonate with, the systems mindset and also psychology in the sense that lots of us know what we need to be doing to get healthier, but we don't do it because of resistance, because of we failed a lot before, because of many internal reasons. So that's kind of my approach to all this stuff.
Yeah, man. And it's a super dope way to look at these things, because a lot of people, get overwhelmed when they even think about like fitness. And so I think the way you're going about it is super cool. So, dude, let's just launch into this, man. Let's get right into the nitty gritty of this content. A lot of, things I hear all the time is like people saying that, I don't have time to exercise, and they don't see the ROI on investing time in exercising and eating the right way and things like that. And so I'd love to hear you actually talk a little like, maybe dollars and cents, and saying, you guys, here are actual like reasons, here, financial reasons why you should be investing time and taking care of yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, let's be totally honest. What does every successful entrepreneur or, future successful entrepreneur do? We try to model others, right? And Richard Branson, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, billionaire, he said, he was quizzed about his key productivity techniques. And the interviewer said, what's your number one productivity technique? Richard Branson sits back, thinks for a bit, and he goes, work out, right? Literally, Richard Branson's number one productivity technique was work out. And he said, by his estimate, it adds about 4 hours a day of productivity. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we ignore this, right? Because we think that extra hour a day is something I could be doing to add cash flow, build my empire, go bigger, make influence. But it's really actually a very, very short-sighted idea. And I'll give you, a few reasons for that. So first of all, consider the fact that your brain makes up 20% of the calories you eat. So your brain, right? So let's say you consume 2,000 calories a day, your brain will consume about 500 of those. I mean, it literally is a supercomputer that requires tons of energy. And as an entrepreneur, that's your biggest asset, right? It's your brain. It's your ability to think differently, to zig when everyone's zagging, and all this kind of stuff. And, we do a lot of stuff. Again, we think it benefits us in the short run, getting those extra hours, the cult of productivity, and we skip meals or we drink like 10 coffees a day, but causing all kinds of problems in the long run and even in the short run, right? Like let's say you skip a meal because you want to get that extra hour of work done, or you skip a meal before a presentation or something. Well, again, you're depriving your brain of the glucose, of the vitamins, the minerals, all this kind of stuff that's really going to lead you to states of peak performance, of flow, and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of entrepreneurs also will drink coffee and energy drinks and all this kind of stuff, thinking that that's going to give me the rush to get day. But it's really not, because nothing that you're putting in your body just has an isolated effect. It always does something else. And stimulants like coffee and Red Bull and all this stuff actually increase cortisol in your body. So they increase the stress response. So you're drinking 5 coffees a day, you're increasing the stress response. And then you throw in some of the other problems that entrepreneurs have, like not sleeping enough because of stress, being stressed, and then you're heading down the road to burnout, to crappy productivity, to all this kind of stuff. And, we all know an entrepreneur sacrificed their health and ended up with a hole in their intestines or a heart attack or something worse.
Exactly, man. And dude, it's funny. I was just thinking like, there's like a couple main things that financially get hit hard on if you don't take care of your body. The first things are doctor's bills that add up like crazy. Like having I just don't get sick, personally. And I'm sure, Alexander, you're a lot like that. Like I haven't been sick. I haven't had like a cold in like 2 years. And
Right.
if you take care of your body well enough, like you just don't get sick. Like these things don't happen. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs that get sick. And first of all, like they have to go to the doctor, pay those bills. Second of all, you literally miss a whole day sometimes. Like, can you imagine
Or a
not taking,
week.
yeah, a week? I mean, sometimes even more if it's something chronic that like,
Right.
you know, compounds. Because when we talk about you know, the exponential effects of not taking care of yourself, at some point, like maybe you don't feel the effects for 2 years, and then bam, you get a tumor, or you know, you
Yep.
get, you know, you have a heart attack or something like that. And so you're going to be paying a lot in bills, and on top of that, you're missing days from work. And a lot of people don't think of that because we're really short-sighted. We're like, all right, what do I need to do within the next hour? Oh, I can't eat right now. I can't eat for the next hour because I got to grind. It's like, well, this may be costing you weeks and, you know, hundreds of hours down the road.
Right.
So that's a huge thing I thought of, man. It's crazy because there's a co-working space in Austin, Texas, where I live, and I go in there, and some of my friends work out of there, and you look and you see like the food that's in there. It's just like garbage and like just chock full of Red Bulls and Monsters and coffees, and this is what they give the people to eat and consume for free, or it comes with
Yep.
their membership. And it's crazy because like when you put these kind of things in your body, you're not treating yourself well. Like you're not going to be efficient. And you go around to all the little desks and cubicles, and you just see like sodas and stuff in there. And, you know, the coders are all like just drinking their soda and their energy drinks, and it's just like, God, do you have any idea what's about to happen to you? Like you're just a ticking time
Yep.
bomb, man.
That's really what it is. It's just, and sometimes you can get away with stuff in the short run, right? It's like anything in life. You can, if you're married, you can get away with treating your spouse like crap for a while until one day you come home and she's not there anymore. It's like same thing with your body. You can get away with it. You can get away with it for a little while, and then little things will start manifesting. You'll start getting, you'll get a little more acid reflux. You'll get indigestion. Maybe you'll get IBS or some problem. Little things you'll start noticing. You won't sleep as well. You'll look more tired. You won't feel very vital. And, it's easy to ignore in the short run, but like you said, comes back.
Yeah. So, dude, I'm super pumped. You did like what? It just tons of research on people who've lost over 100 pounds. I want to
Yep.
hear, like, dude, what are these people getting as far as like productivity and happiness, and what are all the things they're getting back in their life after they're able to make this kind of lifestyle change? Because I
Hang
know
on, your break.
entrepreneurs.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, for sure, man. Still down in Mexico. It's giving me a hard
Yeah.
time here.
All right, I can
uh,
see you again. Go ahead.
Great, man. So I said I'm super pumped to hear about all the case studies that you studied on people who lost over 100 pounds,
Yep.
because a lot of these people experience amazing health benefits and just overall like business benefits and perceived happiness when they were able to lose this weight. And I know some entrepreneurs that need to lose this kind of weight, but it also applies to people who need to lose like 10, 20 pounds. So what did you
Right.
find in your research, man?
Yeah, so basically, when I launched a health site, I knew a lot intellectually about habits, about physiology. My thing is really habits, right? But as a guy who's never been overweight in my life, people are like, yeah, who are you to be giving weight loss advice? I was like, great question. So I figured, why don't I go, I was really curious, what sets apart the top 1 to 5% of the weight loss population that really succeed at losing it and keeping it off? What separates them from most of us, the average person? And so I saw, I went out and I interviewed dozens and dozens and dozens of people that lost over 100 pounds and kept it off years later without any kind of fad dieting, with real food, by changing specific habits. And over the course of this process, I was specifically looking for habits, right? Because I knew I wanted to share this with people and give them real actionable insights. And I found a few key habits that existed over and over and over again. Now, the first one, really the biggest one, is mindset, right? Just like every entrepreneur knows, mindset is really the biggest barrier from, breaking through plateaus. Especially when you begin, mindset is often what overwhelms people the most. Just beliefs about what they can or cannot do, beliefs about, if you've consistently failed before, it's the belief that I'm just going to keep failing, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not the kind of person that can have that success. And this first kind of mindset, I ended up coining, I called it wedding day syndrome. So, I get thousands of emails and people say to me, Alex, please help me. I want to lose 30 pounds by the end of the month. I want to lose 30 pounds by the weekend or the beach season. And it's just like marriage in the United States, at least. People spend thousands of dollars and thousands of days preparing for the wedding day itself, but not for the marriage, right? The marriage is the 30, 40, 50, ideally years, but the wedding day is just one day. And it's the same with people that want to lose weight. They want to lose it for a specific event. It's event-based thinking when weight loss and health are actually processes. So it's the same as life. We tend to think, I want to be successful, or I want to get there, or I want to keep going faster and farther. But at the end of life, there's just death, right? It's like you got to slow down. There's no rush. And the problem is, once people understand this wedding day mindset, so shifting from a process-based mindset to shifting from an event-based mindset to a process mindset. Once they did that, everything changed in more than just weight loss. So for example, people stopped making unsustainable lifestyle changes. Like people would say to me, I'm never going to have sugar again. And that's a wedding day syndrome mindset, right? You cannot not have sugar ever again today or for the week, but are you going to really do that for 50 years? No, there's probably not a person on earth unless you're Jack LaLanne, right? Nobody is going to do that. So the first is really shifting to understanding that weight loss and health are processes that never end. They never end, not until you die. So it's like if you're not, you have to be willing to make small changes that are sustainable and that are realistic. And a lot of people don't like hearing that, but that's that's the truth. So that's really the first as far as the mindset goes.
Dude, that's funny. It's a lot like, I'm sure you have to have read MJ DeMarco's Millionaire Fasting then, right?
Yep.
So he talks about the exact same thing, right? People seeing life in events versus processes. And that's like one of the biggest things that holds people back. So anyone, if you're trying to become like a millionaire, or if you're trying to do anything, just like if you're trying to create the body you want, like you said, man, you can't see it as like this event that you're getting to. You're not going to an event. Like it's not about the event, it's about the process, right. And it's never ending, you know? And that's a great paradigm. So if everyone could make that small shift in their mind right now and start seeing this whole like journey you guys are on as far as like your health in your body, see it as a process instead of like this event that you're going to. It does not end. You guys just start enjoying the process. But man, I'll let you get back into talking about the next step and what else you found in your research.
Yeah, so the next thing is what I call the systems mindset. Now, a lot of these people didn't think of it like that, but I know as entrepreneurs, you'll really, really like this. So, you know, as entrepreneurs, we like to systematize things so that they don't require as much thought. We can delegate, we can give someone else to do them, or you let technology do it. With a lot of these people, they didn't understand that everything that happened to their health in their life occurred because of a system, right? You're overweight or unhealthy, or you have GI problems or whatever because of a series of habits and actions that got you there that keep happening repeatedly. So let me give you an example. Something I often share with my clients, my students, is that weight loss and health are about life. They're not really just about eating less and moving more, right? You can know that advice and not get any closer. It's the same reason why 40 or 50% of physicians are overweight. I mean, let's be honest, they tend not to know much about nutrition, but knowing versus doing is very different, right? So this systems mindset, I'll tell you about one of my clients who's Mark, who's a businessman. Now, he wasn't an entrepreneur, but he had a corporate gig. He was working a lot of hours. He was working like 12 hours a day. And Mark would work 9 to 9. He'd come home. He'd be stressed out. He'd be tired. And what he would do is every single day to decompress from that stress, he required a couple beers and some takeout Chinese food. Now, over time, Mark was 30, 35 pounds, heavier because every day that was like an extra 1,000 calories that he was getting. And it was junk calories. It wasn't even good calories. And Mark had tried many different diets, but the reason why he never succeeded is because he never understood the actual habit, the actual system occurring. The system was that his excessive work hours and his work was causing stress, and he was using food to buffer that stress. And it wasn't until he and I talked and I walked him through this that I said, dude, like, this is a system that you keep repeating. Once you understand that there's a system, there's a trigger to a system, just like a habit. There's a trigger, which is the stress. There's a routine, which is eating food, and there's a reward, which is feeling better, at least right now. So the second thing is thinking in terms of systems and how you can kind of piece together better systems or break the old systems.
Okay, it's huge, man. So when you go to like create a system, what is one of the first steps that you take when deciding on maybe like what kind of system to plug into? Because there's so much, right? Like, of course, a lot of times it's pretty easy. Like, your system is malfunctioning if you are fat, right? Or if you have some kind of like chronic disorder, your system's not working. What's the first step in like finding a new system?
So typically, it's actually easier to look at what's not working, right? It's like you do an experiment in your business and no money comes in. That's very clear that system's not working, right? So with health, it's usually easy to look at what's not working. And here's what I typically do for that. There's an old psychology exercise that it's essentially using an index card. I call the index card technique. And what the index card technique is, you track each habit by tracking one key thing. Like, let's say you've got cravings at 2 p.m. every day and you need like a couple sodas during that time period. You take an index card, and what you're going to do is every time you have that craving, you write down what triggered it, right? So you write down what you were just doing and what you were just feeling. So let's say what you were just, 2 p.m., I've got a craving. I write down what I was working on, Excel spreadsheets. What was I feeling? Bored as hell, right? You do that for a week and you begin to notice key trends as to why you're getting derailed, what system's not working. So Sunday rolls around and you'll realize, oh, boredom is consistently a system that derails me. And the system from boredom is that it leads to, eating or drinking soda. And then from there, you can say, oh, I can swap out something. Instead of getting a soda, I can go talk to my buddy for more stimulation, or I can go walk around the block, or I can read a book, or I can take my lunch break. So it's really easier to focus on like what's not working by just tracking it weekly. Just like in a business, whatever's not working, the first thing you do is track it. Track, see what's not working, and then swap it out.
Dude, that's so money. I love the idea of like reverse engineering it and being like, all right, let me see what is messing me up. Because everyone who's just listening right now is like, oh shit, like I do that exactly. Like, they're like, okay, there's a time, there's probably a trigger that hits. Maybe it's like stress. Maybe like whenever like a call comes in and, I need to put out a fire. I'm like, fuck it. I need to do this really quick. And then I need to get myself a beer ASAP.
Yep.
And it's a trigger. And then you need to, once you identify that trigger, you can be like, okay, now what am I going to replace this with?
Right. So then it also leads to a lot of personal insight, a lot of self-awareness. And that's really what it's about.
Awesome, man. Is there any other interesting like insights that you got from all these case studies that you studied, man? I'd love to hear.
Plenty. So probably the biggest that I think a lot of entrepreneurs will resonate with is this concept of kind of mastering each day, right? So take a look at the big picture. If you want to lose weight, you have to do 1,000, or let's just say a dozen habits 1,000 times, right? Let's say you've got to eat more plants, you've got to eat more lean protein, you got to stop drinking as much soda, you got to walk 10 minutes. Let's just say we're going to keep these key habits. But you have to do them for thousands of repetitions, right? For a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years, however many hundreds of thousands of days. And it can become overwhelming to think about, oh man, I got to do that Monday through Friday, and then next week and the week after and the month and the year. But the thing is that ultimately tomorrow is just today repeated, right? And the day after tomorrow is just today repeated again. And that's just all of what life is. Today's strung one after another. So the secret is to really master each day. And here's an actual system, again, for actually doing that. So one of the things that I noticed all of these people doing was they had some kind of system for motivation or for focus. So just like a savvy entrepreneur, you want to know what your highest priority task is, usually bringing in money. You need to know every single day what your priority, level 1 task is and what habits, what daily actions are going to get you there. For a lot of these case studies, they either had, they had several different forms of their own personal accountability. One woman was a single mother that lost over 100 pounds. She actually kept her old genes from high school, right? She was a cheerleader in high school, gained a lot of weight in college as a single mother, going to grad school. She actually kept her old jeans and hung them in her bedroom every night she saw them. That would spark that. Another guy, he actually kept an old picture of himself. Another person used this kind of calendar technique where every day, you've seen it before, you either put a check mark or nothing, right? And then the more checks in a row you have, the more you want to keep that streak. So every day they had some kind of system for accountability. And, many of the world's most successful people have a morning routine. And I do as well in my own life. And here's one of the things that I recommend that I work with on many of my clients and something that I observed. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, I often have them go through this little process where, first of all, and this is all on paper, get it all on paper because otherwise you're not going to really take the time to do it. And it shows, your level of conviction and commitment. First of all, write down your why, right? Why do you even get up in the morning? And especially, a process with weight loss or even building a business where they're really hard and they take time and you can get really discouraged, write down why you get up in the morning. It's like, if you're an entrepreneur, why do you get up? Is it really to earn more money? Probably not. Maybe you hated having a corporate job and all you want is to make a difference in the world and make a great living for yourself doing something you love, right? You read that every morning, you're going to be like, yeah, all right, let's do this, And with someone who wants to be healthy or want to lose weight, write down your why. And a lot of them, sometimes it's freedom from a body that is imprisoning a person because they're restricted they're restricted from doing the things they used to love or used to enjoy, like hiking or golf or whatever. Sometimes it's this kind of future fear of becoming like their parents with cancer or diabetes or Alzheimer's. These can be very scary things to see somebody go through. The first thing is just write down your why in this sheet. Now, the second thing is visualize exactly the outcome you want, right? Visualize exactly the outcome you want in all the detail as if it's already occurring right now. So visualize yourself, the scale weight you want, how you look, how you feel, how other people compliment you, all these kinds of things. Visualize it every single day. And then from there, walk through in your head just what are the things you're going to do to get yourself to that goal, right? So write down your why, you go through your why, read it out loud. You visualize exactly the big picture, the outcome, and then you visualize that day, what are the steps you're going to do to take yourself there. So it really gets you focused, and it's very hard to get derailed if you master each day. Because you can, if you're only doing it once a week, well, you can be great Monday through Thursday, Friday rolls around, and it's Friday night with pizza and beer, and you're getting sidetracked. Yeah. So really, that's like another kind of high-level mindset thing I noticed all these people doing, whether it was looking at an old picture of themselves, whether it was having a partner or spouse remind them, whether it was this calendar technique or visualizations, affirmations, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's so on point. I'm really glad you brought this up, man. It's funny, I actually do the exact same thing with my clients. Is I have them go through the same thing, coming up with a compelling why, and then every day visualizing exactly what they want to create, making it compelling, and then going through the visualization of the day going perfectly. And that includes taking every action that's necessary to get them to that, perceived desired outcome. And right. Yeah, man, and the more people that I interview on this podcast, the more high-level thinkers, the more millionaires, the more healthy and fulfilled people I talk to, which is, of course, the most important thing. It's a very consistent, man. All these people do the same things. They have that strong why in their mind at all times. You ask them why, and it's like, because of this, this, and this. They know why. Like, it's always because they're always being pulled. They're not pushing themselves to do anything. They're being pulled constantly by their why, and they have that clear vision. And then they get down to just enjoying the process of going through that perfect day every day, because every day is a perfect day. Why not? Every day can be a perfect day. When you change the perception from I have to do something to I get to do something. I don't care what it is. And if you don't like what you're doing that day, find a way to make it compelling. Because if you're an entrepreneur, like, you create your own world. So maybe you need to start outsourcing tasks. Maybe if you don't look forward to working out, maybe you need to find a way to make it more fun. Play a sport. Put on some tunes to get you pumped up. Find a podcast. Ooh, podcasts. Yeah, maybe like this one to listen to while you're working out to have fun. Yeah, dude. So everything you just said is right on point, and I appreciate you bringing that up, man. Is there anything else that you've got out of the systems that you saw that a lot of these people are doing? Because in the beginning of the episode, we talked about really creating that winning day. We want to win every single day, and like you said, that morning routine is a huge part of winning the day. And what comes after going through that perfect morning routine when you're trying to win a day?
So I could tell you all day long, like, the physiology of how the things you eat, thoughts you think, blah, 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 affects your health, your energy, your future income. But none of that really means anything, because ultimately weight loss is about a psychology, right? It's about an inner game. So is health, so is entrepreneurship, so is life, right? I could tell you, for example, that for entrepreneurs exercising, one study found that if you walked for 10 minutes, it actually increases your energy for 2 hours after. And if you do that every day, your permanent level of energy is higher than normal. I could tell you that exercising increases blood flow to the brain, makes you smarter and faster. I could tell you that exercising, this Duke study found that exercisers that regularly exercised had a better mood than, people that were depressed. Actually, let me mention that. People that were depressed that exercised showed better symptom relief than people actually on Zoloft, on an antidepressant. I could tell you all those facts, but at the end of the day, we all have kind of a hint about what we should be doing. But getting ourselves to do it is a totally different thing. And that's what you have to understand, that it really is it's an inner game. It's all about systems. It's all about, like, if you know what you need to do, but you're not doing it, you need to ask yourself why. And that's why, what I mean by it's an inner game. It's a mindset. It's kind of an emotional, psychological thing.
Definitely, dude. So have you noticed, like, some of the key distinctions around the people who made that leap into, losing over 100 pounds that differentiated them from people who never made that leap and just stay really overweight? Like, did you ask them questions like, what was like the number one reason why you were like, I've had it, I can't take this weight anymore, I don't want to live this life, I want a new life, I'm starting, I'm going, let's go right now?
I do, yeah. I asked all of them that because that's the defining moment usually resonates with a lot of other people. Um, One of them, Lauren, the single mother, one of her things was that she just kind of, it got to the point where she was looking at pictures of herself and all her friends were still cheerleaders from high school.
Hmm.
And she was so embarrassed. She got invited out by her friends and she didn't want to go out because she was so obese compared to how she was that she didn't want them to say, what happened to you?
Hmm.
That was really her defining moment. She just one day she was like, I'm so afraid to hang out with my close friends who are usually my bubble of comfort that this has to change, right? I mean, there was another woman, Amanda, and for her it was just she had to take like half a dozen pills a day to have regular bowel movements.
Hmm.
She was on, high blood pressure medications at like 26, 27. And for her, it was just the fact that she might end up in the hospital very shortly. Another guy was a game designer. And for him, he realized he kind of came home and his house was a wreck. And he realized like this messy, disgusting house was almost like a metaphor for his life.
Hmm.
That kind of the external stuff, the clutter that had been manifesting was just a reflection of what's going on inside him. And for him personally, he was a young guy. And it was the fact that he was probably never going to get a girlfriend going down the road he was already going down. So for each person, it was slightly different, but it's always kind of powerful to hear that story. And it's like you can ask entrepreneurs too, and I think the story varies for each person, but it's typically it's a really deeply emotional story.
Yeah, and emotion is everything, right? All we want is a feeling. We're always just looking for that feeling. As much as people want to rationalize why they're doing things, like it's all about the feeling. And a big thing I do with clients as well is I take them deeper into that feeling that you talked about for each one of these people. That's why what you just said resonated with me so much, and probably a lot of other people, is that all these people were acting upon a feeling. And it was a feeling of like, being ashamed or fear of the future or embarrassment. And it's really scary to like look at that. But avoiding it and saying, it's not there, like things are gonna get better, and doing the avoidance thing just is one of the worst things you could do. What I would say is if you're going through, if you are not happy with where you're at right now, take yourself deeper into that fear, into that embarrassment, into those feelings. Don't try to hide them, don't try to mask them. And this is gonna sound a little harsh, but imagine what would it be like if you kept the same habits you have right now, the same systems. What would it be like 5 years from now? What would life be like? What would life be like 10 years from now? Would you still be here? Would you be alive? What would your body look like? What would your skin look like? What would your day-to-day life be like? How would you feel? And this is a harsh reality to like take people there, but it's important because we only take action based off of pain. We're always going to do a lot more to avoid pain than to go towards pleasure. And so it's good to always have, that compelling future ahead of you in the morning to get you feeling good and start you off. But to make that initial jump, I think it's very important to say to yourself, what would happen if I kept doing this 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and visualize and see how bad it could get. And that might be enough juice for anyone who's ready to make a change to do so. And a lot of people who are listening right now may be like, all right, listen, I'm like really healthy. Like I'm not even like overweight, but like I have bad habits. Well, think about it right now. Maybe you're young and you have some bad habits that that you need to change. What happens when your metabolism starts slowing down? What happens when all these actions you're taking, all this stress you're putting on yourself starts to compound day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year? What is your reality going to end up being? And so I don't know if you do this with your clients at all, Alexander, but I always find it to be a very useful tactic to get people to really feel the emotion of being ready to take on change.
Yeah, it's with health, it's powerful. I mean, because especially people that come to me, they tend to already have problems. And so you can ask them, yeah, like you said, what's going to happen if you keep doing what you're doing a year from now, right? If you're hypertensive, if you're already overweight, if you already have GI problems, you can't sleep, you don't like who you see in the mirror, what's going to happen a year from now, right? Like today could be the day it all changes. And that's a choice. That's a conscious choice that has to happen, right? By default, nothing happens. By default, you just go down the default path you fall into the 95% mediocrity thing. And it's like, it has to be a choice. It's the ultimate power, which is the power of choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And on this show, we use health as like a metaphor a lot of times for everything. Because entrepreneurs, like, we're always trying to strive towards something. And health is an amazing metaphor to use. And a lot of you listeners may need this specifically for health. But if you're thinking about other aspects of your life, the same thing holds true. All these same systems and habits we're talking about, when you're trying to make progress, all of these things still hold true. So don't think to yourself right now, well, I got the health thing down, like this doesn't apply to me. If you need to get your finances together, or if you need to get your business on track, or if you need to improve your relationships, or if you just need to become a happier, more fulfilled person, then all the systems we're talking about and habits are definitely applicable. I don't know, do you want to speak to that at all, Alexander?
Yeah, no, that's a great point I didn't bring up. It's that once all of these people, so in psych research, health and fitness are known as keystone habits. So all the habits surrounding that, meaning once you get healthier, it spills over into every other aspect of your life. So people tend to be happier. Their relationships tend to improve. All of these things, their finances, everything, especially because their mindsets change. They take personal responsibility and they understand really how habits form and how to break them. And it really is, once you understand this kind of key systems, habits, philosophy, that's the secret to success. That's the secret no one tells you. In fitness, in business, that's how multimillionaires build their empires, through these tiny daily habits, the right ones, not the wrong ones. That's how the healthiest, fittest people in the world, the Olympians, do the same thing. That's how the happiest people, the Buddhist monks, whoever you are in the world, they do the same thing. It's just tiny things done daily, repeated over time.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, man, it's all about winning the day. Win that day, because the beauty of all this is, it doesn't matter what your past is. Your past doesn't equal your future. Right now, you're new today. Your day starts now. Like, you can win today. And so I always practice this with like people who want to come on as coaching clients. Like, I don't allow them to say, okay, well, I'm really busy this next week or two. I make them take some kind of action that day, because that's where it begins. And a lot of people like to put things off because, of course, if you're not where you want to be, you've been putting stuff off for a while. And so that's why you have to, like, if you're listening to this right now, like, you don't need to be like, well, tomorrow morning I'm going to get up really early. I'm going to go to the gym. It's like your next action could allow you to win today.
Yeah. Take the podcast, go for a damn walk. Walk with the podcast. Start now. It's either now or never. There's no such thing as someday.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So everything that you're dropping on my audience is gold, dude. And this turned out to be a super cool episode. Is there anything else you want to add as in regards to, the productivity people can expect to get from winning the day health-wise every single day, or anything on those lines?
I think the biggest thing, at least that's made a difference in my life and that of a lot of my students and my clients, and there are hundreds of them now, is really understand this kind of habits, systems, philosophy. Understand that health and weight loss are not about eating less and moving more, but they're about life, right? It's about dealing with the distractions, the pressures pulling you in all the directions, the Friday night, the friends that want to bring you out for pizza and beer. That's what health and weight loss is about. It's about negotiating all those things and kind of managing your way around life. And understand that if you master each day, if you just worry about that day and do everything you said you were going to do, and you use that daily routine, use that morning to focus you, pump you up, read a motivational book, whatever it takes, listen to a podcast like this, do that each day, and you'll be where you want to be faster than you thought you'd ever be there.
Yeah, buddy. All right, dude. So I actually don't think I warned you about this, but if you listen to my podcast, you know that just about every guest that comes on, I ask them to tell me a story about an experience they had in flow. So, that time in their life, or in that time in your life, Alexander, where you've been completely immersed in the moment, you're performing better than maybe you ever have before, you were loving that moment, you're present, and, seconds felt like hours, and you really just, for some reason, were able to turn your conscious mind off and just allow your unconscious to control your actions. And I'd love to hear, a story maybe you have or experience you had where you experienced this kind of flow state.
Yeah, so I bet a lot of people that come on are probably going to tell you about a sports event because, physical activities really do tend to lead to flow. But for me, I actually have a big background in meditation. I actually lived in China. I speak, read, write Chinese. And a few years back, my last semester of college, I was kind of figuring out what to do next. Because my passion has always been medicine, but I kind of got talked out of the dream a little bit before college. So in true Alex fashion, I went on an adventure. I actually booked a ticket to the Sahara Desert in Africa to meditate with no food. So I go on this caravan with some of the last remaining nomads in the world, the Tuareg, and eventually they bring me to this meditation spot, and they said, "Hey, go find your spot. Let us know where you are, and we'll check every day to, you place a rock in the morning, we'll place another rock to make sure you're not dead." So they sent me off with that. They gave me an old gasoline, like a truck gasoline container filled with water.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came back 5 days later. And I had no food, nothing. And I just meditated there. And, I'm always about, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm always about pushing the envelope, seeing what's at the next level, because we rarely know what our own potential is. And so I'm meditating there. And the first 2 days were just horribly boring. And I've been meditating since I was a kid. And even so, that was really tough, really boring. And eventually, after day 4 and day 5, they actually gave me like a little ration pack. It's like, in case you're feeling like you're going to be sick or you really are afraid for your health, here's a little, here's like 500 calories. Here's a little like bar and some nuts and stuff. So day 5, I was getting really weak, like so weak that if I stood up, I would black out for about 5 seconds because of the lack of glucose, lack of energy in my body. Mm-hmm. So I took one raisin and I put this one raisin inside my water and I drank the water and I could literally feel every single bit of energy going through my body. So I kind of relaxed for a minute. I sat down, I meditated, and then I woke up. I basically opened my eyes, and it was nighttime. And it had been like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. And it was just kind of like the craziest feeling of, like, meditation is hard for a lot of modern people, especially entrepreneurs, which is why I think entrepreneurs, more than anyone else, will benefit the most from it. But they're often resistant to it. And so for me to do something that usually is kind of painful, to fly by like that and just be so calm, so enjoyable, just almost like you're going into a light sleep, but you're conscious of it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Just kind of a bizarre, really cool experience. It makes you always think about what's possible,
Dude, that's amazing. I love that. And it sounds like I'm very interested in Chinese medicine myself, and it sounds like something that I would love to do. So definitely after this podcast, I'm going to pick your brain about it. But
yeah,
that is super cool, man. And so that's actually one of the most unique and cool flow stories I've heard of. And I love it, man. I'm just curious, like during all this time, like did you bring like paper to write on anything, or was it just?
No, I did bring a little journal. I tried to avoid writing in it because I just tried to see what would happen. Like would signs magically start happening? Would I have spiritual experiences and all this stuff? But I did write down some stuff. Like when you're starving, you tend to think of awesome recipes, and I wrote down about like 15 Martha Stewart quality recipes.
That's hilarious, man. And was there any like just paradigm shift that you made during those 5 days, or is it just a great just experience and perspective?
Yeah, there were a lot of things that changed, but I think one of the biggest things was this whole idea of like know thyself, right? It's written on the old emerald tablet thousands of years ago, I think in Greece, and it's just like you said, you got to be, so many of us are not honest with ourselves. First rule of entrepreneurship is tell the truth, right? You've heard that before. It's like if something's not working, you have to be honest with yourself and look at what's not working. If you're losing money every month, look at the spreadsheets. Where's it going? It's kind of like if you want to get to the highest point of where you want to be, or if you just want to be happy, know yourself, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, we do it for the accolades, for the ego, and a lot of us probably don't actually want to be entrepreneurs, but we want to do it for the acceptance. And sometimes that's what puts people onto the wrong path in life. And at the end of the day, if you're not living the life you want to be living, that you feel like you were born to live, it causes all kinds of other problems, right? From drugs to just unhappiness and marital problems. And it's just know yourself, right? Why do you do what you do? What are your fears? What are your dreams? Why do you do these things? Is this really what you're here born to do?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. Why?
Yeah.
Always. Beautiful, dude. So we'll end on that point. And where can people find out more about Alexander Heyne?
Yeah, so I run modernhealthmonk.com. If you want, there's a free guide over there on getting out of chronic pain and losing weight for desk working professionals. So you can go on over, check it out, and that's really the best place to find me.
Beautiful, man. All right. Well, thank you so much for all your knowledge you shared with my audience today. They appreciate it. I appreciate it. And have a good one, my man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.